Certainly, chess gives you a lot of lessons that I think
better
you can relate to. Whether it's easier, I would assume that most professions you should be able to find something of interest that you can then communicate out. But certainly, chess, and especially in the context of learning and how to cope with artificial intelligence. Well, these are themes that chess players have faced first, if you like, or been in the front end of. So perhaps that's interesting for others to hear of you.
Thank you, Anand, for speaking to Outlook on the occasion of your book launch. First question is, a memoir or autobiography usually happens when one hangs up the boots, but you are still an active player in the top 10, even though you turned 50 this December 11. Can you explain the rationale about doing this book at this stage in your career?
I would say the 50th birthday provided a very convenient deadline or timeline, if you like.
Okay.
So, I mean, the project has been around for a long time, and this seemed like a good moment to clinch it. I don't see that I have to retire for it to happen.
Okay.
I think since the book is really about my life lessons, I felt I had a story to tell already, and I could say it. And it doesn't really it doesn't really matter if I choose to play a few years more. So I don't see that as being terribly. But 50th was a nice route.
Has any other chess player done this? Top player done this before, but when he's still active, written a book or something like that?
Yes, but they have tended to be autobiographies. So we decided to frame it differently.
Okay.
And extract life lessons rather than chronologically going through all the events. Take what was most significant and what I might have learned.
Yeah, your co-author Susan was telling us that you decided the format, how it is going to be, and any particular reason why you chose this kind of format? Because trying to extract life lessons from your famous matches is a new approach for a sportsman. Okay, is it easier for a chess player to discuss tactics, preparation, schematics, and post-match analysis and draw wisdom from them than for a tennis player? That many of your nuggets of wisdom can actually be used, applied in company boardrooms or in management courses or simply in real life situations. Do you think for a chess player it is far more easier to access these issues?
It depends how you view your life. I mean, I have done a fair amount of public speaking, so maybe it flowed from that also. That I could then, because I had already been
NIT forum.
NIT, but also I give talks in companies and so on. And so I do quite a fair amount of public speaking, and I've already been taking lessons from my career and discussing them. So maybe the format suggested itself like that.
That's it. Is it easy for a chess player to do this? To bring out the nuggets of wisdom about his moves, his strategies, the tactics he's applied, and the opponents that he has faced? And is it easy? Because
certainly, chess gives you a lot of lessons that I think
better
you can relate to. Whether it's easier, I would assume that most professions you should be able to find something of interest that you can then communicate out. But certainly, chess, and especially in the context of learning and how to cope with artificial intelligence. Well, these are themes that chess players have faced first, if you like, or been in the front end of. So perhaps that's interesting for others to hear of you.
Europe used to enjoy as anyone can access chess data available in the cloud. And they have dented the human ego in chess players. You also observe that in spite of surfeit of data, one often has to play by instinct and improvise on the way. Will a day come when computers will determine how chess has to evolve in future? Or are they doing that already?
They're pretty much doing that already, in the sense that everybody is sitting with their computer. I don't know anyone who analyzes on his own for any sustained period of time. You may analyze on your own just to simulate a real world environment of a tournament, but you're not going to do this on a sustained basis because your work will suffer. So already almost all the new parts, all the analysis are being driven by computers. And so first, that has already happened. I think egos is no longer an issue in chess because that already happened. There was a period when we were surprised and we had to rejig our expectations, but now everyone is over it and we are past that stage. As for geography, I think it still helps to have a chess community in your town. It certainly doesn't hurt. But my point is, it's no longer the sort of the insuperable obstacle it once used to be. I mean, once upon a time, there are many people who may have been talented, but they happen to live in countries where there was no chess culture. And they tried for a while, but they're always fighting the odds. I mean, everything which is a 2-minute walk in a city which is with the chess culture is a lot of effort. You have to phone someone, mail someone, ask for a book. I mean, every bit of contact is thing. And that friction invariably takes a toll. Now that is heavily reduced. So that is no longer a big handicap. But it's still a big help if you can work with someone.
When you were crowned as India's first GM, it inspired so many youngsters to take up chess, and today India sports 65 GMs. In an interview to Outlook in September 2018, you saw at least 5 prospective world champions from India. But Praveen Tipse recently said that after no Indian GM has managed to reach the top 20 ranking, who do you see as champion candidates from India? You think, when did that happen?
Well, if you take the current crop of really young players, then they not only have time on their side, a lot of time on their side. I've already finished the GM titles, which shows their promise. So clearly, Pragnananda, Nihal Sarin, Gukesh, Ranak Sadhwani. So these are the 3 or 4 who really young, lots of time and so on. Besides that, there are other promising players who are very strong. I would rank them slightly less, not because of lack of strength, but because they're already 20 or 22, and that necessarily compresses their time frame. But I think we have an incredible amount of depth in a sense. And I often keep saying that Hari Krishna was in the top 20 for a fair amount of time, so it wasn't that he was that far off.
But then he didn't cross, he didn't come anywhere close where you have been, in your zone, as they would say.
True, but it could happen, and it's also very hard to predict these things. But Hari is still playing in lots of absolute top tournaments. Vidit is doing well. And I think each of them, if they tweak something or can fix some problem that they have, then there's a lot of scope for improvement.
Or is just going the tennis way, the top 3 of Federer, Nadal and Djokovic separated by a huge gap by the rest of the field? You think something like that is happening?
I wanted to say that I don't think that's happening, but on the other hand, right now the rating list, the gap between number 3 and number 4 is bigger than the gap between number 4 and I think the gap between number 4 and number 20 is smaller than the gap between number 4 and number 3. So, but it doesn't feel, if you see tournament results, I don't think it's only 3 guys winning everything. Once in a while someone else wins something. But in terms of consistency is what they're doing well.
There are surprise winners too.
Also, Magnus really was dominating last year, followed by Caruana. So that's
even after becoming GM, when you used to be shy and reticent in your media interactions, but Aruna's arrival in your life appears to have changed you. You are more articulate and your humor comes out very nicely. She is now your manager who decides your scheduling, draws up your contracts and packs your bags. How much of a difference has Aruna made to your chess?
Obviously quite huge. I mean, let's say I've become very efficient in the sense that I'm able to just do the chess and focus on nothing else, and she's very good at arranging other things. And every time you don't get distracted by small things, then you can just focus on the big picture. Plus, especially in the crucial years, she was traveling with me everywhere, and so it was an integral part of the team. So not just a manager, but an integral part of the team, and that was a huge help.
Troubleshooting.
Almost any adjective should work at this point.
Okay. Do you and Aruna play chess as you say, because initially till you came out and told her the match results, she had no clue what happened inside. Now the two of you even discussed employing German defense in your game. So
we played one token game once. We made a draw. I wisely offered a draw, and then that was it. And we didn't play too much after that. But for instance, when we are giving our kills up puzzles and all, she's able to solve them very fast herself. So when he's thinking, she's able to sort of guide him along, and no, she still understands the game quite easily.
okay. You end the book on a slight note of despondency on how you and Gelfand, both in their 50s now, find the youngsters like Carlsen, Aronian and Nakamura too much to handle. Yet you go against woeful form and lack of confidence by winning the 2017 Rapid Championship, but only to see a dip in the form in 2018. But you say that hereafter it's more about the joy of playing than pursuit of ranking. That's what you say in your book. That will keep you going. That will keep you going till you retire officially. Or as you say, would you like to spend more time with your son Akhil, not wanting to miss out on his growing years?
Well, I don't see the despondency at all. I think I'm simply talking about reality. Some things are just hard, and why should I be despondent? I've had a full career, and this is what I say in the book as well. But you constantly reassess your goals and what it is you want to do. And also, I don't think chess really comes into conflict with the time I spend with my family.
Yeah.
On the one hand, yes, I disappear for stretches, but on the other hand, when I'm here, I'm fully here. I don't have to go to work.
Okay.
So it matches up. I try to do both. I mean, I get pleasure from playing. It's my profession, so I continue to do it. But also, when I come back home, I try to spend as much time with everyone. And I also say that this is very important to heal and recover in chess.
Yeah.
So it's not only some sort of personal indulgence. It's healthy to have. But I think what I'm really talking about is the struggles I'm facing, and look, age is a factor. I cannot ignore it, but at the same time, I don't see any response.
You also said that the average age of the top 10 now hovers in the 30s, with you and Gelfand in the fray.
No, I'll tell you the figures. I checked about 4 years back for the year 1983, and then I pulled out some old rating list, and I looked. It was something in the mid 30s, 35 or 36. And then I looked at the median age, because there were two 45-year-olds or 47-year-olds when I looked. And so I checked the median age of the remaining 8, and it was in a slightly low 20s. And I thought that. I'd never gone through the process. Of course, you can see the list and see everyone's getting younger. But when you actually see a number like that, you realize how young they are.
So, are we looking at younger champions in the future?
It looks that way. It looks that careers will happen faster. You'll play more tournaments when you're playing, and you'll burn out faster. But who knows what it will look like in 15 or 20 years.
So you said you relax. The other sports that interest you is soccer and tennis, right? Okay. And who is your favorite tennis player?
Well, I enjoy watching Federer, obviously.
Have you met him?
No, I've not met him. And the Federer-Nadal rivalry was interesting in its own way. You could frame it in chess terms in so many ways. The guy who's plodding all the time, working for every point, whereas the guy who's talented, plays with flair, or the specialist you could frame it in a infinite number of ways. Same thing when you watch football, it's nice to see how all these skills are evolving and how the team tries to get them together. Things like that. But frankly, I don't sit and obsess about performance all the time. Sometimes you just want to watch a good sporting match. So.
And are you still a strict vegetarian?
I never was. I would say I'm predominantly vegetarian, but I've been eating fish now for 30 years. And at a certain point when you're traveling, you realize that you have to be a bit more flexible. So I'm not a vegetarian, but at home and so on, mostly I'm vegetarian. But I'm not.
Being based in Europe, how did it change your lifestyle? And how did it make it more convenient for your chess?
Simply, the biggest difference it made was in terms of travel time. Everything was a 2-hour flight away instead of a 10-hour flight away. Then access. Back in the day when the communications and computers are not evolved to such a point, I still need to work with other people.
Okay.
And when you're nearby, everything happens faster. You call someone, he says, "Oh, I can't do Wednesday, but I can come Thursday to Saturday." And then you think, "Well, I can pop over for 2 days," and everything works better when you're nearby. And same thing for tournaments. Of course, the big tournaments will invite you anyway, but a lot of the small ones, the weekend one here, some small there, they're much more open to the idea if you're nearby, and they kind of mentally rule you out if you're far away. So it was very practical.
Okay.
Besides that, we enjoyed living in Spain, experiencing a different culture, but I don't know that I changed very much because you evolve.
Yeah, you haven't. You're still the Chennai boy.
Okay.
Thank you, Anand. Thanks a lot for
All right.
talking to us.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you so much.